Okay, we are back. And the reason I say that is because this is take 2 of my testimony video. I did it last night and I thought I did pretty well, I guess. So I've never done this before. This will be my very first video actually talking to somebody or talking to the camera. I've done a lot of GoPro videos and stuff, just, obviously just vacation and fishing, things like that. So it ended up being an hour and 15 minutes long. I don't think anybody was going to be able to sit through the whole thing. Maybe as capturing as it might be or whatever interesting to you. I still have that video. I've got it saved, so if somebody wants to see it, just let me know. So anyways, yeah, take 2. It's Sunday. We just got back from church. It was awesome service, awesome sermon, great life group, awesome. Felt the Holy Spirit in me during worship. It was super cool. So anyways, yeah, this is my testimony video, and it's a testimony, Christian testimony, meaning that it's not about me. It's not my story. It's me going through all this stuff, but it's my testimony to how great God is and what He can do for us and how He can change us from the inside out. He's just awesome and wonderful. So bear with me. I do have notes again. The first time I ever did this, my testimony actually kind of in a public forum, was during our life group. Charlie Brown, that's our teacher, if you believe it. Super nice guy, awesome guy, former cop, DA investigator right now, getting ready to retire, but he's our teacher. It came up somehow and he kind of threw me under the bus jokingly during class, if someone needs to tell because we often, people get up and tell their testimony to the rest of us, so we know where we all came from. And how great God is in working in our lives. So, and he said something about me doing my testimony and joked it off. And I said, you know what? No, I'll do it, Charlie. I'll do it next week. God just got into me and just said, hey, do it. So I did it there. It lasted about an hour, the whole class. So I'm going to try, hopefully, be a little bit quicker on this go around. But it was awesome. The class is awesome. My parents, I invited my mom and my dad there to watch, and I wish I had invited my sister, but hopefully she'll maybe see this video, or I can tell her in person eventually, or she can just come in somewhere where I tell my testimony again and hopefully be there, because there's some things that she probably needs to hear from me anyway. So with that being said, here it is. Obviously, like I said in my Facebook post, I'm a reborn Christian. I was saved back in 2015, I am just here to live for God now, to serve Him. It's my joy and happiness has never been more full. Anyways, I'll start. I kind of start from the beginning. I grew up Catholic. My parents were Catholics. My mother's family, her side of the family was Catholic, or her parents. My father's parents were Catholic as well. As most of you know, my dad's from Costa Rica. My mom's from Minnesota. So I grew up Catholic. My dad really wasn't into church. We didn't really go to church on Sundays. We did like the Christmas Eve service or maybe Easter. But they did put us in a Catholic school, Catholic elementary school. Then when I was going through the motions, obviously I believe there was a God. I just was going through the motions within the Catholic Church, though. I know some of you might be Catholic, so I don't know. It's hard for me to, maybe I'll make another video on that, the differences between Catholicism and Christians, and the differences that I've learned. But basically, my wife and I are Baptists now, and as a Christian, we follow the Bible biblically. So that's the Word of God. It comes straight from Him. That's how He talks to us. So we follow that. So anyways, if anybody ever seen Nacho Libre? Because I was Chancho, a little kid, the heavier set kid. I was me sitting in church, just put my head back, just bored, and okay, let's just get through the motions. I'll just do what I have to do. Set prayers and all that stuff. So anyways, 8th grade year, my parents finally they wanted to put me in a public school. I think they were tired of paying the tuition, actually, even though they were doing really well financially. But maybe that's something I should ask them, why they what the real reasoning was. I mean, I don't know if there's any other reasoning or that was it. That's what I can remember. So maybe I should ask them and just test that out and see what they say. So yeah, I went to a public school in 8th grade. Grew up in Walnut Creek, California, which is East Bay east of Oakland, San Francisco. Beautiful town to grow up in. So then I got into high school. Decided to, my senior year, I wanted to go into the Marine Corps, join the Marines. I'd been in a small thing called the Civil Air Patrol Auxiliary. It was like a little small cadet program thing you do on weekends, and it was like a military auxiliary basically for kids, teenagers. So that kind of got me on that path. So anyways, I joined the Marine Corps, and I wanted to go to war and kill people. Plain and simple. I mean, dumb, I know, but that's the way sometimes you are. At a young age, you think it's all glorified and awesome to go to war and get into combat and kill people, but no, it's not. It's not. We all know that. It's gruesome and whatnot. I went in right after, I think I went to boot camp, September of 1991. During the Gulf War, it was actually just winding down. Or was it? No, just kicked off. Honestly, I can't remember exact dates, but yeah. So I thought I was going to go over there, but unbeknownst to me, it was quick. And I reported to, let me go step back. I joined the Marine Corps Reserve because for some reason I just wasn't ready to leave home and go active duty. Hindsight, I know it's God's plan. It was planned for me, but I wish I did go active duty and deploy and go overseas and things like that. But anyways, the Marine Corps matured me, made me grow up pretty quickly. But I reported to my reserve unit, which was in San Bruno, California, an infantry unit. I think about a month or two after they had just gotten back, they were deployed to Okinawa, Japan during the war to relieve another unit over there and then deploy if they needed to. But the war, most of us older people remember is that first Gulf War was pretty quick, so they didn't need to go over there. So it grew me up. Awesome. It actually set the stage for my career, which you all know is the Highway Patrol. Before I get there, I did, when I got back from my school of infantry, basically reported my unit, I ended up meeting my kid's mother, Holly. Met her, we got married. I was 20 years old, she was 18. Again, God's plan. So in silver linings, I got 2 awesome kids out of it. But it wasn't meant to be. I cheated on her emotionally. Physically, I did cheat on her there too, physically, and not proud of it, obviously. But I was a lost soul. I didn't know any better, and I was young and dumb. Had the kids, Austin and Shelby, and you all pretty much, most of you should know them, or have met them, or seen them, or maybe seen them on Facebook. Ended up cheating on her with a female officer that I partnered up with. Typical Chippy story, but that proceeded to start the divorce, and honestly, obviously it was for the better. I became a way better father to the kids than I was at the time with them. I disciplined them probably a little bit too much, but after that, I just spent as much time as I could with them. I only had a few weekends a month, and anyways, I became a way better father to them. And to step back to that, when I was young, growing up, my oldest sister, Kimberly, who is saved now, she was saved about 6 months ago. We were super happy for her. She got into drugs, hard drugs, acid, LSD, all kinds of stuff. I don't know all the drugs she actually did, but I know the big ones because she was a mess, and continually witnessed my father and mother battling with her, trying to deal with that, sending her to juvenile hall, all kinds of things, and then watch my dad beat her. My dad would beat her, and because he was so angry and upset, and it sucked to watch that. And that's part of the reason I never touched a drug in my life, also. So, anyways, let's flash forward then from there. Let's see. So while I was married to Holly, that's when I decided I needed to do something. Shelby was born. I'm like, I got to do something. Get a career going. So I thought, well, I want to be a cop. I'll be a cop. I'll go out, arrest people, chase people, shoot people, all that crazy, things that I'm thinking as a young kid, that, the excitement and stuff. And so anyways, I applied with several agencies. Of course, I got on with the Highway Patrol. Y'all know that. And went to the academy in 1996. First office was in Oakland, right out of the academy, which is great. I learned a ton of stuff there. Pursuits all the time. We were chasing people like crazy because I work graveyards. So, and then shortly after that, obviously Austin was born in 1997. I did want to transfer to the Contra Costa office so I could be closer to home. The commute was like 30 minutes to Oakland, but Contra Costa, that I lived in the area, so about 2 years after, about 1998 is when I got my transfer to Contra Costa and started working there, and it was great. My partner and I, that I went to the academy with, transferred at the same time, so we stayed partners. We were partners probably for the first 5 years on the job, I think, and we just had a blast working together. Normal stuff, also fatalities, just the normal stuff. I guess you call it normal. I mean, it's abnormal, but it's graveyards. We chased people. We took them to jail for all different kinds of things. I mean, majority of DUI, but other stuff, drugs, guns, all that stuff, gangbangers. Saw a lot of nasty fatal collisions. And soon after that's when, I divorced Holly. It's a long story. I don't want to get into it, or else I'll end up with a video like the last one, an hour and 45 minutes or 50 minutes. But anyways, end up down in Fresno, transferred to the Fresno office because we ended up in the Central Valley. That's when the divorce happened, and she was in Coalinga with with Shelby and Austin. And so I worked in Fresno for a little bit, and was dating the female that I got together with. And then I met my second wife, Shauna, and she lived in Bakersfield. Hence, that's why I'm here now. Great town. I love this town, though. So I ended up marrying Shauna. Well, let me take it back. Not married. We got together and we started dating, and we eventually moved in with each other. I moved in with her, and that leads up to everything. Basically, she's the one I went through everything when I was saved. However, Shauna was not saved. She was, I'm not even sure if she was a true believer or not. I know she wasn't a true believer. I don't even know if she really believed. I mean, she would joke about God and Jesus. We never talked about faith or religion. Anyways, with that, a lot of things happened on the job during those years. Working in Fresno, I was knocked out by a parolee after a pursuit. Knocked out cold. He basically foot bailed. He ran towards me, and somehow I guess he knocked me back, and my head slammed against the concrete sidewalk, knocked me out cold. If I didn't have my partner there with me that day, I'd probably be dead. He probably would have killed me because he knocked me out cold. He would have probably taken my gun and that would have been it. So God was looking over me that day, luckily, because my partner was there, and he was able to take him into custody right after that. The helicopters overhead, they would have luckily. They were getting ready to land and help out. So anyways, that was a short stint back in Fresno when that happened. Because when I transferred to Bakersfield after Fresno, I went up back again because I was going through issues with Shauna, emotionally cheating on her as well. And I thought I was going to eventually move back up to the Coalinga and Fresno area and stuff and whatnot. So that happened. Ended up transferring back to Bakersfield. We got through our issues, and excuse me. I gotta stay hydrated when you do these things, man. My mouth gets dry. So, anyways, so transferred back to Bakersfield. Shortly after that, my partner and I got a call. Graveyards right out of coffee. We went straight to coffee after briefing, like we always did. We were there with Mike Friebel and another guy by the name of Jeff. I won't say last name. I don't know why. I can say Mike Friebel's name because he's not here with us now. He's passed on. But anyways, we got a call of an out-of-control juvenile running around on the 99 in the traffic lanes south of Bakersfield. They didn't know how far south. They said they thought they were 15 minutes south. So And our area at the time extended down to, or does still extend on to Highway 166 on the 99, which is probably about 15, 20 miles maybe. So we started hauling butt because we thought this kid was going to get hit and killed by a car. Mike and Jeff were behind us. We were flying down the freeway, Matt and I. I was driving 135 miles an hour, topped out in the Crown Vic, and felt like almost like I was in a boat all of a sudden. And I was like, Matt, you feel that? The moment I said that, left rear tire blows out. Couldn't control it. We were topped out speed. I don't even want to get specific. I won't get into specifics how you're supposed to control it. That more time, of course, they would add to the video. So, needless to say, we started spinning across the lanes because we kind of drifted into the center line and then spun across the 3 lanes of traffic towards the right shoulder, spinning around. And as we're spinning, going to the shoulder, my partner, big old country boy, says, "This is gonna hurt." Hit the shoulder, and the patrol car rolls. And Mike and Jeff said we probably rolled about 10 or 15 times, kind of end over end. And as we were rolling, it was just like violent shaking, and I remember feeling like my head had hit the ground out of my driver's side window, the left side of my head. And I thought we were going to die. I'm sure Matt did too. I thought that was it. And somehow we stopped finally, and we ended up on our tires. And the first thing I did was told Matt, C-spine yourself, don't move. Jeff and Mike are right there. They're coming to save us, basically. We knew that, so. And then the second thing I did was check the left side of my head, thinking it was going to be cut pretty good, or even have a skull fracture, because it felt like that had happened. Checked my head, and thanks to God, nothing. What I determined it was later was just the window blowing out, and the air and the dirt just rushing into the window and just hitting me in the side of the head. So it felt like I hit the ground. So, anyways, we walked out luckily with just scrapes and scratches. So I was sore. I was off for a couple weeks, and we survived that. The car was obviously destroyed. Again, God was looking out for us. We had a cage car which protected the front passenger compartment like a little, just like a little cocoon. That was the only part of the car that was actually semi-intact. The back seat was just crushed in, and if anybody was back there, they'd be dead. So that happened, and then I was on the board of directors for our officers club, nonprofit that we have, and along with 6 other officers. And Denny Drummond was on the board with us, good friend, really good dude. Came down with cancer. He beat it, and in 2012 it started to come back. I was sleeping one night, and luckily I did not put do not disturb on my phone, because in the middle of the night I get a call from Sally, my good friend, the officer as well, and the first thing out of her mouth is that Denny's been shot. And I was jumped up, and I was holy crap. Told Shauna, my wife, and I was leaving to go to the office and figure out what I could do. And she didn't even pay attention, because the whole other issue with her was Ambien. She was on that, so that's a terrible sleeping drug. Ran down to the office to see, because I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought he'd been shot. I didn't know if there was a suspect outstanding or what. If they want, we were coming in, if we should come in, suit up and get out there and help, or what. And as soon as I get there, I run into Rosa, another female officer, and she's crying, and we hug, and she's like, he's gone. And I'm like, what? So find out that he was obviously at the emergency room at Kern Medical Center. So I ran up there. I drove up there, and a lot of other officers there too. Went inside, was able to go inside and see him in the room with his wife, Amy, kneeling at his side, holding his hand, crying. And I saw Denny laying there, and he had not been shot. He actually shot himself in the head. He committed suicide. That was the last time I saw him. I mean, it sucked. It sucked to see Denny like that. And then, at the time I was it sucked. So anyways, so that happened. Now that's a big part of me being saved as well, is Amy and Denny, those two. About a year later, Mike Freeble, the guy that was behind us, helping us when we crashed, he had contracted cancer as well. About the same time Denny had it. But Mike was fighting it and a little bit better and whatnot. And but about a year later, Mike passed. Again, he worked graveyards. Him and Jeff with Matt and I. We were always, on that same shift. We were a tight crew. So I visited him before he passed a couple weeks, and he didn't look like the Mike I knew. He was just looked like a skeleton. So lost another friend. And later that year, December of 2013, on the board again, obviously the board of our nonprofit, and my good friend that I go fishing with and hang out with quite a bit, Mike Kachansky. He was the treasurer. He was getting ready to transfer out to the Fort Tejon office, so he wouldn't be able to be on the board anymore. So we had to do a little change of positions. I became the president of the club. Good friend Sally was taking over the treasurer, and I went over to Mike's because he wanted to show me some stuff and on the computer about the club and like the PayPal account and things like that. And I did. And while he was showing me, found some charges for like a NASCAR race on the club's PayPal account. And it was kind of like, whoa. But I didn't say anything. I played dumb because Mike and his wife, she helped out with the books as well. They tried to play it off, and it was so obvious because we're cops and we know. I mean, come on. It was so obvious that they were just trying to cover something up. So, but I played dumb, because in my head I was like, how can my friend be doing this? There's no way. So I left and I called Sally and I said, I think Mike's stealing from the club. And so we got together. We spent probably, I don't know how long at her house, combing through records, bank records, everything, and determined. It's so long ago, I don't remember exactly what we thought. I think it was about $40,000 or $50,000 that we knew of, that he took. A lot of it cash, so untraceable. But we are, our hands were tied. We're police officers. We're held to a high standard. We can't just say, hey, Mike, you stole this money. Hey, you got to pay it back, man. And not tell anybody about it or anything like that. He's a thief. Greed got to him. He was a thief. So we turned him in. We turned my best friend into the sheriff's department, and they arrested him eventually after their investigation. Spent a few days in jail. He was obviously fired from the department, and I haven't spoken to him since. So that sucked. That sucked big time in my career. Anyways, yeah. So I've got notes up here on my computer, so bear with me because it's just so much that I've gone through, and I just need to get out there. A few things happened or started happening to me actually around 2014, I think. 2000, shortly after that is the job, and everything just started getting to me, and I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't know what was going on. Basically, that one thing that set it off, and was like, whoa, something's wrong with me. And I was on the phone. I was here at the house and on the phone with Shauna. She was on the coast with her parents and driving her car, and she was telling me about how her tires were bad and then she needed tires, and that's part of my whole thing. Was, when you're depressed or suffering from depression or PTSD, you get home and you're like a vegetable. You just sit around and do nothing, watch TV. So I didn't really take care of the cars as well as I should have. So she was complaining to me on the phone, and she can be very sarcastic and push buttons very well. I'm not sure if she's still like that, but she was with me, and I lost it. I just lost it. I remember screaming and yelling at her on the phone, saying, I just lost 2 friends, and using cuss words. And then I remember I had the TV remote control in my hand. I threw it across the room. I started crying uncontrollably like a child, yelling and screaming at her, and just like leaving the phone there. I think I just dropped it. I don't remember what I did with it. And just crying and yelling out, what the F is wrong with me? What the F is wrong with me? Why am I crying? How come I can't stop? So eventually, I think she came home the next day or whatever. I got through that, I guess, or calmed down finally. And she's like, you need to see a therapist. So I looked one up, went to one, not very good. The only good thing she did was she gave me a book, Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement, the book was excellent. I highly recommend it to other officers and newer officers. And read it and just learned about where we are, hypervigilance when we're at work. When we come home, we pass the normal, we drop below it. I mean, we just sit in a magic chair and do nothing basically. And you had to learn how to drop to the normal level and not go below that. So that's a lot of stuff that I've learned, obviously, from going through everything I've done. So, anyways, things started to seem like they were getting better for me at that point. But then they started getting worse again. And, Shauna and I had a lot of issues. Intimacy, just a lot of issues, a lot of things. She was depressed, so she'd spend all day in bed after work, just laying there watching TV also. And just a lot of arguments. And then we were just kind of like roommates, basically, as well, I mean, then just the job started getting to me. And what I learned through, I ended up seeing a second therapist, but I learned through her is that we all, we have a bucket. And on the job, you throw these things into the bucket, the fatals, everything you've been through, that's traumatic. We throw it in there. And my bucket just ended up overflowing. And it all came out at once. I'd be at the house just staring into the refrigerator, opening it up to seeing something, to get something to eat or whatever, drink. And I just find myself staring. And then pictures of fatalities I've seen, would pop into my head, and I would be sitting there staring for minutes on end, not knowing, how to snap out of it, or somebody would snap me out of it. Like Sean would be like, "What are you doing?" Just snap me out of it. Of course, me, nothing. I was just looking for something to eat. It was getting pretty bad where I just couldn't do anything. The kids would come on the weekends. They'd be talking to me, telling me stories and stuff, and I didn't even really hear what they were saying because I really wasn't there. It sucked. It sucks, now I think back, it's like, man, I missed a lot. It was getting pretty bad for me. My sins back then, before I repented and turned my life over to Christ, I did everything everybody else pretty much did, that were are people that aren't saved and just leading a sinful life. The drinking I drank a lot, but before the job is when I drank the most. I mean, I'd get drunk when I was on the job. I'm not working, but, when I was working when I was actually on the department, on the job, at parties and stuff like that. As a teenager, I'd get drunk like crazy, and it was dumb. Cussing a lot, using the Lord's name in vain, blasphemy, everything, sexual sin, lying, gossiping, all of it. I just did it. And now in hindsight, I'm like, man, I wish I knew better before. And not to say I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. We're not perfect. There's only one perfect person ever, and that was Jesus Christ. So, I do still sin. But not nearly like I used to. I mean, it's little things, gossiping here or there, whatever. Maybe, I don't cuss anymore. Maybe a little, a few lies here and there, little white lies, maybe. But that's still sin. Doesn't matter how bad or how little we think it is. It's still, God doesn't want us to do it. So, I'm not perfect, but I'm in a heck of a lot better place than I was before. So, it was mean to my family as well. My parents, my sister. My oldest sister lives in the Bay Area still, so it was not much contact with her during this entire time. But I remember one time in Disney World, we were there. My wife wasn't with us. She didn't travel with us that much. That was another thing. And with the kids and my parents, and they just bought into Disney Vacation Club, so we were in the Grand Villa at the Animal Kingdom. It was awesome. But we were all sitting down to watch a movie or something, and my sister got up to go to the bathroom, and I think Austin sat where she was sitting, and you know how the kids are. My sister came back and said, "Austin, can you move? That's my seat. That's where I was sitting." And he said, "No, I don't want to," or whatever. And it escalated. I got into it, involved, and I just went off on my sister. Man, I mean, it was ugly. I was raged, just complete rage towards my sister. And I know that I probably scared the you-know-what out of her. And it was wrong of me. That's how bad I was becoming, over something like that. And to just have complete rage against my sister, who helped me raise my kids, when I had them. I feel awful about that. And so it was bad. I did think about suicide during this whole time, but never thought actually of doing it. Just thought of it, it came across my mind. So, however, we were driving back from the coast, Sean and I, from one of their family reunions out down by Ventura. And I was driving and Shauna started arguing with me about her brother-in-law, how I didn't talk to him that much, and how she thought I hated him and this and that. And it wasn't I hate him, we just didn't really have much in common. Um, and I was driving and she was just going on and on, pushing my buttons, and I was just getting more stressed out, more stressed and upset. And suddenly I felt like just taking my seatbelt off and ramming the car into whatever I could and just ending it. I luckily didn't do it, obviously, but I kind of caught it and I started shaking and I pulled over as fast as I could just to get out of the control of the car, so I wouldn't have second thoughts and actually do it. Told Shauna, you need to drive. You just have to drive. And she didn't really know what was going on, but I was shaking uncontrollably. And so she did. And I don't remember a conversation with her, but I remember I'm like, I got to call Sally, because Sally was a good friend and she's on Pure Sport. Or she was on Pure Sport, I think, at the time still. She still is, but she talked me down, and that was a rough go, because I thought, man, I can't believe I almost did that, or thought about it and actually doing it. So yeah, that sucked. So I looked for my second therapist and found her, and she was awesome. Awesome therapist. She diagnosed me with PTSD from all my incidents, depression, and whatnot. She wanted me to get on antidepressants at the time, and I said no. Didn't want to get on drugs, and she said, okay, we'll try without, and see me weekly. So yeah, I did. The first time I visited her or saw her, she asked me, she's like, okay, well, let's go and start. She knew what I did. And she said, hey, tell me about your first fatality you ever saw. Pretty gruesome one, I've told this story hundreds and hundreds of times, where these guys rolled over in their car, 3 black males up in Oakland, and the driver I'm not going to go into the specifics, but he had died. I think one of his buddies had died, I think, or maybe he was the only one, I can't remember specifically, but his head skull got tore back, if that makes any sense. It's almost like he had a hinge on the back of his head about a third of the way down, and it just, like a lid, it popped off, and so he was dead, and his brain was all over the road, the on-ramp of a freeway, just everywhere. It was spread everywhere. So I saw inside of his head, his skull. It was hollow, steaming. That was the first year in Oakland, so I was probably like 22 years old. And then I thought, oh, no problem. I can deal with this. Okay, I'm fine. Okay, no big deal. I see it, whatever. Flash forward to this first session with Helen, my therapist. And 1 second. Of course, it's Mickey Mouse, Anyways, yeah, I tell her, and I cry uncontrollably. First time I ever cried over that thing. And this goes to show you, how my bucket was overflowing. I mean, everything was coming back. All the stuff I've seen, just vivid pictures and memories, sounds, sights, smells, all of that stuff. Let me backtrack it a little bit again, because before I started seeing Helen, I also got into a standoff and basically got shot at. Whenever the afternoon units officers got into a pursuit, I was at the office getting ready to put my patrol car away for the end of the day. Get in a pursuit, the guy crashes in foot bales. They're chasing him on feet into an apartment complex. Next thing I hear on the radio is shots fired. So I jet down there from the back lot of the office. The guy ended up pulling himself up in a garage in an apartment complex. They actually had garages on theirs. Almost shot one of the officers looking in. Got there, jumped out, got my AR-15, run around the corner, was with another officer and 2 Bakersfield police officers, one a sergeant, one an officer, with their patrol car as cover. Kind of, if this was the garage, here's the building, and we were positioned over here, kind of parallel to it. And anyways, yeah, we knew it was going to be shooting when he came out, because he kept saying, Call of Duty, I'm going to come out and start shooting like crazy, just like Call of Duty, like the game and this and that. And it was like, at the time, I was like, just come out then, let's finish this thing, finish it. I've had enough. And at one point, he's taking pop shots at different officers, and I hear him shooting, and the other chippy that I was with says he's shooting in our direction, and because I couldn't see where he was shooting from, he was like coming out from just a little bit of the garage underneath, so I never got a visual actual weapon or anything like that. But then I did hear a round strike the ground next to my feet, go whizzing by me. So that was pretty scary. Yeah, at the time I was like, but I was also pretty angry, and I wanted to finish it because this guy was trying to kill me and my friends. Eventually, we got called off. Not called off, but SWAT, Bakersfield Police SWAT team came in and they relieved us, took our positions to handle it. Obviously, later that night, we got basically not quarantined, but taken to Bakersfield Police Department up there so we could be interviewed and whatnot. And we learned that he finally came out like with a mattress over him, thinking I was going to stop the rounds, and started shooting at the SWAT team. They shot him up. They shot him in the head. The guy survived. Go figure. Hindsight's 20/20, obviously. But now I'm like, okay, I'm glad. I hope he, either he's in jail or prison or whatever. But I also hope that he can be saved by the Lord too. So as bad as that sounds to some people, you know what? We all deserve it. We can all change and repent. The worst of us can. So went through that. That was pretty rough. Then I started seeing Helen shortly after that. And like I said, I talked about that and whatnot. About the time I started, actually it was about a year after that when I was seeing Helen. So I'm not sure when I started seeing her now, because I know it wasn't that long after I started seeing her when the next thing happened, the next big thing to me. Again, it was a lot, man. There was a lot. I mean, talking about like just, yeah, my home life sucked. It was I was very miserable. And it was April 8th of 2015. Shauna was in bed as usual, watching TV. It was day off. Austin was here. He was working on his truck in the garage. I think he was 16. The house was in disarray as usual because Shauna just didn't clean. I had to do most of it stuff, and just like dishes and things like that. And there was some laundry that I wanted her to fold. It was her own laundry. And I just remember going in there and asking her, "Are you going to fold this or not?" or something. And I probably said it pretty mean because I was very, very irritated at that point. I get super stressed over the smallest things. So I was super stressed out. Went in there angry, and we got in an argument. She started pushing my buttons again, which she's very good at. She was very good at saying certain things and just being, that sarcastic tone. And I was so upset. I just wanted it to end. So, for some of you this might be hard to hear. But I grabbed my gun I looked over and I saw my gun on my nightstand. And I grabbed it and put it to my head and put my finger on the trigger. And I told her, I said, "Fine, how about this?" And I may cry at certain points during this testimony video, so some sad tears, but it ends with happy tears, trust me. So yeah, I was getting ready to kill myself in front of my wife with my son at home in the garage. I was getting ready to take my own life. And something told me, I heard a voice saying, "Be careful with that gun, it's got a light trigger pull." And it snapped me out of it. And I just realized I'm going out of order here, but that's okay. I'll digress and get back to. Yeah, it snapped me out of it. All of a sudden I thought, what am I doing? I dropped the magazine. I got the round of the chamber, dropped the gun on the bed and told Shauna, "Get this thing away from me quickly." And I dropped just dropped down to the ground, the floor, and started crying uncontrollably again, crying. What am I doing? What am I doing? I mean, I was crying for many reasons, obviously. I was so upset and I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I thought that was it. I thought I just ended my career and in my life, basically, that, I wouldn't be able to do anything else. I thought it was all over, and I just thought to myself, can I do that, especially with my son here? So finally she got back to me. Shauna finally got back to me eventually. She came back to the room after I don't know where she put the gun, and she's like, "You need to get on those antidepressants." I was like, okay. And ended up talking to Austin after, telling him what I've been going through. I don't think I told him about that part. And then I eventually talked to my family, told them I was going through issues too. Now, again, like I said, I got a backstep because I went out of order. Um, right before this, I started to think to myself a lot, and I don't know how long, maybe a couple of months before this, as to myself, with all the stuff going on in the world, everything I've seen, all the evil, the destruction, I thought, how can there be a God? And I kept thinking that. I started doubting there was a God. I started thinking to myself, there's no God. There's no way. No way there's a God. Yeah, I got to that point pretty much where I was a non-believer. And it was like, there's no way there's a God. So, as a lot of you know, I started running, and I'd run early in the morning before work, about 3 a.m. Dark, nobody out. One of my runs right before this suicide attempt, I ran past a local park where I always ran, and as I was coming up to it, God works in a lot of different ways. He's powerful, all powerful. He will do things for us, send things to us, make stuff appear for us, whatever it is, for the better good, for Him, and us, to love Him. So as I was coming up on this park, we had just lost one of our dogs also, like about a month before. Put him down, Tico, a beagle. I just came up to the park, and I saw my friend Denny there at the park, standing there waiting for me as I was running up to it. And I saw Tico standing next to him. And I was like in amazement. I was like, is this really you? You know? And he looked awesome. He looked in fabulous shape. Tico looked like a young pup again. And he's like, yeah. He's like, and I'm like, he's like, there's a God, man. He basically just told me, yes. It was surreal and just amazing. One of the most spiritual things that have ever happened to me. It was just amazing. Later found out from Amy and her son, Riley, that's the exact park that Denny would coach Riley's football team at. He would go there and they practiced there. That was the park they practiced at. So if you're a non-believer, please, believe me, this happened. I mean, come on. The suicide attempt happened, obviously. The next morning we were supposed to go to Vegas. So I wanted to see Denny. I wanted to go for my run again to see him. Because I would see him occasionally, just feel his presence. I did, and found out that next morning when I was running that it was his voice basically telling me not to shoot myself, kill myself. I know a lot of people are going to disagree and say, well, if you kill yourself, you go to hell, and all this stuff. And you know what? God works in mysterious ways and wonderful ways, and it was him. It was Denny. So amazing. Now I didn't 100% confirm and say, okay, God, I get you. I surrender my life to your Son, Jesus Christ. I believe in Him at that point, because I still had some issues. Still stuff going on, obviously. But they say things come in threes. So shortly, after Shelby was getting ready to go to Oklahoma University, and I asked Shelby, let's go to Disneyland, just you and me, for one last trip. We did. We got a Starbucks, I got a coffee. We sat down in front of the Magic Shop on Main Street, USA, to watch the new parade, Paint the Night. And 4 people came up, asked if they could sit next to us, and we said, okay. The guy ends up moving the trash cans to make more space for us, for them, and him and his wife, or girlfriend at the time, took off to go do something. They got stuck on the other side during the parade, and these 2 other girls were sitting next to us, Christine and Aggie, and we just started chit-chatting. She was pretty. Christine was a beautiful woman, but I kept telling myself, don't flirt with her. Shelby's sitting right next to me. Later to find out, Shelby said that we were flirting. I didn't think, I really tried not to. But we had an awesome conversation, a lot of things in common. Ended up asking a cast member to take a picture of the 4 of us, because to find out they were Canadian, obviously. That's why they were so friendly. And Christine asked if she could email the picture to herself, because she's a scrapbooker. So she used my phone and from the picture and emailed herself. And parted our ways, said nice meeting you and all that stuff. And next, we started communicating via email and stuff after that, and on Facebook. And things started to go romantic, start getting to a romantic level, and we both tried to stop it at certain points because it was the wrong thing to do. We both knew it. However, later found out that Christine was saved about the same time I was. We just didn't know each other yet. So we both decided we needed to take care of our own relationships first. Christine was married to a gentleman that was very controlling, and she was in a bad situation as well. So we did. We both ended our marriages. I went through a divorce with Shauna, and it was tough, but we got through it. And Christine and I started dating and did the long distance thing back and forth to Victoria, BC, Canada, back and forth till she was finally able to move down. And I can't tell you the exact date that I was saved because it was kind of a process. And Christine was kind of that last little bit that I needed. I truly thought when we were talking and whatnot, I'm like, I think she's my soulmate. So I kept thinking to myself. And I decided, I'm like, you know what? I asked Denny, I said, hey, is there such a thing as soulmates, man? On one of my runs, I'm like, is there such a thing, Still thinking, I knew there was God because then he confirmed it, but I just wasn't fully committed yet. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember him basically saying, ask Amy. And I was like, that's kind of weird, So I hit her up on, sent her a message the next day or later that day, and she got back to me, and she said yes, this and that, and she said, that's funny because that's exactly what Denny would have said. And I was like, wow. And I did, when I found out that's where he coached his son's soccer team, I did tell Amy and Riley that I saw him. It was pretty emotional when we had that discussion, but yeah. So it was that point that, I was like, okay, I get you. I understand, God. You are there. And again, I don't remember the exact moment I said, that's it, I'm turning my life over to you, but I did. And life started getting a lot better. Christine and I started, and once she moved down, we started attending Valley Baptist Church here in Bakersfield. We go to our life group and learn more. We learn as much as we can. I'm constantly, YouTubing Christian stuff, everything. It's just amazing what God has done for me. Turned my life around. I changed me from the inside out. Truly changed me from the inside out. I look back at the stuff I used to do and I was like, wow. So obviously everybody knows, John 3:16. They see it. A lot of people don't know what it is or what the verse says, and I didn't know what it said either before I was saved. I just saw people with them like, okay, play it off. But we all know it says, it means for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. We know that. So, and that's, I truly believe in that. Also love John 14:6, which says, this is Jesus speaking, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Meaning we had to accept Jesus in order to get to heaven, because it will change you from the inside out, and you'll want to walk with him. You'll want to be that good person. So there's a couple of, some of my favorite verses. So anyways, yeah, life is going really good. Awesome. God is awesome, man. I love it. I love being a child of God. But I went through another test. Christine and I went through a test together. About a year after she moved down, August 24th, 2018, a Friday afternoon, the day before I went on a month's vacation. We were supposed to leave for Mammoth the next morning to go camping with my parents for a few days. And then a couple weeks after that, Shelby was getting married in Pismo. And then we were going to Maui to watch our best friends get married. I was involved in a shooting. I'm going to go through this because this is a big part of what God has done for me and shows you where I've come from and where I'm at. That day, I wanted to take it easy. I'll kind of breeze through everything because I know I'm probably going long again, but I really didn't try to do anything that day because I wanted to get off on time and go to, get ready for my vacation. So I went home for lunch as I usually did. Wrote a report. I was leaving home and our mechanic wanted to do oil change on my patrol car, so I told him I'd come in early from my beat, and he could do that. And I was leaving the house, or I told Christina, so I'm just gonna go write a couple tickets and then go back to the office, and that'll be it. That'll be the day. And she gave me a goodbye, which is the weirdest goodbye I ever had from her. When I would leave for work or leave from like lunch, she just said, she gave me, "I love you." She says, and be safe. But it was just weird. Something about it was so weird. And I drove off the patrol car. I just remember thinking to myself, that was weird. That was different. And I got onto the 99. I was going to run some LiDAR, which is our laser for speed. And one of my favorite spots, or one of my spots. And I had to send a text to this U.S. Marshal because I had made a U.S. Marshal warrant arrest the day prior and booked the guy. And the U.S. Marshal wanted to get a copy of the report. So I was texting him how he could do that. And the moment I sent it, I get the call, and I get a call of at 1179, a vehicle into a power pole. And literally, it's just north of me. It's northbound 99 north of 7th Standard, and that's where I was at. I was at 7th Standard, underneath the overcrossing. And all I can think of was like, great, man, end of shift. I got to hurry up and get there and take care of this crash, so I can get out of here on time, and ride it and go home. And I was thinking maybe my beat partners will help me out, So I rolled. That was like a minute away. Mac and Ben were my beat partners. They were en route. Mac was coming from the north end. Ben was in Oildale, pretty close. I get there and I see this truck into the power pole. I see it on the frontage road, and it's off the freeway. He went through the freeway fence, chain link fence, or barbed wire fence. I'm sorry, and yeah. So I instantly thought, okay, I can't just get out here and go across because he is in the power pole and there's lines down. And I could electrocute myself if I accidentally step on one. So I'm gonna have to go up and turn around, put that information out to dispatch. That I was gonna have to go turn around to the next ramp and come back. The moment I looked forward, I saw the driver walking on the right shoulder of the freeway, just north of the location, walking away from it. And information started coming in that he was possibly suicidal and he was running into traffic. And approached him in the patrol car. I didn't get out. I kept my distance because I knew Ben and Mac were on their way, so I was waiting for my backup. But he was walking, white shirt, shaved head. And he was walking with his, I never saw his right hand. He kept it in front of him. He turned around, looked at me with like the mad dogging look, like just that we all officers have seen. We know this is not good. The hairs on the back of my neck went up, and I knew something bad was going on. I kept pleading on the PA system with him. Dude, I just kept telling him, dude, stop. You need help. You're hurt. You need to stop. Stop, please. You need help. He turned around again a second time. I think it was either the first or second time I noticed blood on him in his abdomen area and on his head. I knew something bad was going on. I kept pleading with him to stop. I kept saying, stop. This is going to go bad. Please stop. And eventually he starts walking towards the traffic lane. And next thing you know, he starts to run out into the traffic. And as he's running out, there's 3 lanes. He's running out towards the middle lane. There's a huge RV coming up, trailing a car. And I think, I'm going to just watch this guy get killed in front of me. And somehow that RV stops. I don't know how. And the guy doesn't hit him. The guy stopped too, the suspect, before getting right in front of it. But the RV takes off. The suspect, he runs into the center divider. A big rig stops where the RV was now. And at that point, I put all the information out, and I'm yelling at him. I could take a step back. I'm yelling on the PA at him as he starts running. I'm like, don't, I'm screaming like, don't do it. Get back. Pleading with him, Anyways, I put that information out, and I lose sight of him because the big rig's next to me. So I move up the patrol car, trying to get in front of the big rig, start to get in front of him. I see the guy walking in the center divider still, and that's when I see a large knife in his right hand and him bloodied up, and he keeps walking. And I know I have to do something at this point because he just almost nearly killed himself, nearly caused a collision, putting other people in danger. I knew I had to act. So I tried to get across into the center divide because the big rig blocked my view. People were coming by the big rig. I was inching out slowly, hoping people would finally slow down and stop. And a girl finally did, and I'll never forget the look on her face. We locked eyes. a young black girl, and I could just see fear in her eyes. But she let me across. I moved in the center divider, and I was like, I got to get out, and I got to do something. So I got out, and I drew down on him, started walking his direction, and telling him to stop, stop, stop. And we're trying to remember the 21-foot rule that not to get that close to him because he could stab me before I could even shoot. And I knew what was about to happen. I just knew, but I didn't, I didn't want to believe it, but I knew where this was going. And he finally stops, turns around, has the knife in his hand, drops his hand to his side with the knife, and we locked eyes. And I've never seen evil like this before in my 20-some years on the job. And sorry. He just starts charging me with the knife. And I start backpedaling, and I just start putting rounds down range towards him, just shooting. And as I'm shooting, I'm hitting him because I'm seeing him flinch and like bend over real quick and saying, and he actually says, ow, if you believe. He goes, ow. And I'm backing up, but I'm shooting him, and he's still coming at me. Even after being shot, he's coming towards me. And it was at that point where I thought, I'm about to die. I knew I would be with my Lord and Savior, but I was scared, man. Because he was catching up to me. And he wasn't stopping, even after I was shooting him. So, my objective at that point was to create distance and try to, put the patrol car between me and him, like run around the patrol car so I could reload. And so I turned around and started running. And I don't know why, but he stopped. Thank the Lord he stopped. And that's when I was able to reload. I performed a combat reload. It was automatic. I don't even remember it doing it because training kicked in with all this, and it was just so automatic. He hopped the center divide wall, went into the southbound lanes of traffic of the freeway, cars screeching to a halt. That's when I put shots fired out, and I knew I had to keep chasing him and stop him. I hopped over the center divider, and he was running towards cars that had come to a stop. In my mind, he was going to try to carjack him, and I don't even know if he was going to stab anybody or kill anybody. And all I could think of was like I was kind of a good distance behind him now because of the time lapse where I had to reload and put the radio traffic out and get over the center of the wall. And I kept remembering. I remember just like praying to God, like, please let me make a clean shot on him if I have to shoot. If he gets to a door, starts to open it, I've got to shoot. I've got to stop him from hurting those people. And I was afraid that I would miss and shoot somebody, hit somebody else, an innocent bystander. But thank the Lord that the moment he got to the door of the first car, they took off. They probably saw him and they realized something bad was going on, obviously. Second car, same thing. Got to the door, took off. Third car, same thing. And as that car passed him, he ends up, it was a pickup truck. He drops to the ground. And I thought, okay, it's over. Finally, it's over. And at that point, I caught up to him, and I was, the moment I caught up to him, I was probably about 10 feet from him, maybe. He actually pops back up, gets up again, and starts approaching me again with his hand down his side, just like before. And I believe he still got the knife in his hand. I see something in his hand, and I'm like, it's the knife. And I'm telling him, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground. And he's still approaching me. I'm back, pedaling down the freeway, and I'm like, just like yelling and screaming at him, get on the ground. He's not complying or anything, and he's got this evil look in his face. He's blood everywhere, and he starts to speed up to run again, and that's when I fire again, and that's why I take his life. He dies. I kill him, and the moment he dropped, Ben and Max showed up. They showed up, one on each side of me, and I never felt better in my life. Never felt safer, I should say. I mean, those guys were there. They took care of me. They're brothers, man. Max, a Marine also. Ben's just a solid officer. And they took control of the situation. Ben, you could tell they cared about me. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think I shot him in the head. And, and Ben's like, go ahead, reholster. We got it. Reholster. Put my weapon away. And I did. And I was able to just get back up from the situation and let them take control. And then I was distraught. I was crying out to God, F this and F that. How would the F to this happen? I was actually cursing, It was pretty traumatic. It sucked. So yeah, I went through that. A lot of physical things and emotional things happened, physiological things. Slow motion for me, tunnel vision. When I say I think I got him in the head, it's because I realized afterwards, time slows, your brain does amazing things. I actually learned that a lot of officers in shootings see their rounds flying through the air. And I did. I saw my last round fly through the air, enter into his head, and come out. That's how I knew I got him in the head, and I knew it was over. I still struggle with it, but I know God put me there for a reason to extinguish that evil, but I pray every freaking day for that man, for Felipe Perez, that somehow he was able to be saved prior to me taking his life, that he's in heaven, not in hell. I just pray to God that he has a soul. Oh, sorry. So yeah, I got through it though. Soon after it happened, I was able to call Christine from the scene. I was sitting in a patrol car, while they were doing stuff, and she cried, I cried, told her I was okay. I was able to call Shelby, she cried, I told her I was okay. My son is amazing. He's in the Marine Corps now, as most of you know. He'll be getting out soon. But he was stationed in 29 Palms, and it was a Friday afternoon, and I called him. He answered, and I said, Austin, I just killed somebody. That freaking amazing young man, my son, man, he said, Dad, I'm on my way home right now. And he drove home to see me, take care of me. I couldn't be more proud of him. So anyways, yeah, it was rough. But God works in wonderful ways, of course, and he's always there. After, I cried to him a lot, praying. Please help me, please forgive me. I prayed so much. I met with one of the lieutenants, Marty. He's a Christian as well. He was awesome. He asked me what I was struggling with. I said, I don't know if I could be forgiven for killing that man. And Marty said, you didn't murder him. You didn't kill him. You were protecting everybody. And God says it's okay to do that. I was like, okay. Makes sense. And then the most amazing spiritual thing happened to me while I was struggling with all this. I was on a morning run. It wasn't dark. It was the sun was out, or it had come up, and I was running, and I was about 400 meters from the house, from the corner of my street. And suddenly I felt like the guy was chasing me again. Like Felipe was right behind me with that knife. And I broke down crying. Right there on the side of the road, crying like a baby. And I started screaming out to God. I said, God, help me. Please help me. Please help me. And I looked up on the corner from my street, from my house. I had a glimpse of Jesus there, standing there. And he said, follow me. And I felt better, like 100% better. And I was able to run, finish my run, got home. And I praised him, I thanked him, told him I loved him. Told Christine what happened. We both cried together. Tears of joy, tears of love. It was the most amazing thing ever. So amazing. And, finally after that, I got into the spa, and I was able to start reading through scripture and stuff, and it was just like it was lifted. God had taken care of me and lifted me out of that position, or that anguish that I was in. Pretty freaking awesome. God is wonderful. So, a couple of my favorite scriptures now are obviously Matthew 5:9, which is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. It's one of my favorites. It's not just for peace officers; it's for everybody. Anybody that keeps the peace. Anybody that tries to create peace. They're peacemakers. Psalm 138:7. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you will preserve me. You stretch forth your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand saves me. It just proved to me that God was right by my side during that whole incident. He was there, protecting me. One of my really favorites now is, and I just found this a couple months ago. It's Romans 13:4. I think it's speaking about officers or people, on the good side of evil, I guess. For he is the servant of God for your good. But if you do what is evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger to execute wrath upon him who practices evil. That's it right there. I mean, yeah. So basically, that's it. It's probably still long. Shoot, I don't even know how long. But that's my testimony. God had a plan for me. It worked perfectly. I went through something super traumatic, but I honestly believe if God was not in my life and I had gotten to this shooting, I would have killed myself afterwards, and I wouldn't be here today. But because of God and His love and His grace, I'm here. I was able to get through it with my wonderful wife, and yeah, I'm here. I'm here for Him. I'm here for His glory. I'm here to work for Him. To do what He wants me to do. So every day is a blessing. Every day at the job is a blessing now. I try to bring His word to people every day on the job as best as I can without, hurting, offending somebody, or whatnot. But I'm a much better officer. I'm in love with the most amazing woman ever. She's a God lover as well. I mean, Christine and I our relationship is solid. I mean, solid because it's built on God, Him first. That's why we call each other number two, because God is number one to both of us. And it just solidifies our relationship more than I can't even explain. We just love Him and we just live for Him. And the joy I experience now is the happiest I've ever been in my life. And it's because of Him. It's just God's story. It's just my testimony. That's it. But it's His story. So thank you for listening. If you made it through this whole thing, I know I can't see what the time is on it, but I know it's probably long again. Hopefully not as long as the one I did last night. But I kind of like this now. It's kind of cool. So maybe I'll do some other videos, on different subjects of my faith and what has transpired and what I believe in and stuff like that. So just let me know if you enjoyed watching this. If you're a Christian as well, let me know. If you're not, if you're on the fence about believing, please let me know. I hope it helps. I hope everybody can receive His grace and His love that like I have once you accept His Son as your Lord and Savior, and experience the joy and what it does for you. Again, life isn't going to be all, daffodils and roses and sweet. God didn't promise us that. That's will be when we go home to heaven, yeah. But we'll have our trials and down here and things like that. And that just goes to show you that my shooting was one of them. And there could be some worse things coming up, but He is God. He's almighty, and we have to praise Him no matter what. Praise Him in the storm. So He'll take care of us. It's all for the better good. He's got a master plan, and it's awesome. So again, if you're borderline, or if you think you're a non-believer, I hope this really helps. I mean, again, talk to me, if you want. I will never pressure anybody to be saved, to accept, Jesus. I hope everybody does, because I love everybody and I want everybody to experience it and actually go to heaven. But I'm not one of those people that's going to pressure and whatnot. I mean, I'll talk and if somebody wants to listen, awesome. If they don't, okay, I understand that. It's cool, So either way, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys think, if you don't mind. So with that being said, I guess I'll say, adios, I suppose. Thanks for listening. God bless everyone. You guys are awesome for actually asking to see this thing, and love you all. You guys are great, and have a good rest of your day. All right. Thanks.